Glad you guys could make it tonight. At this time, I'm going to ask Miss Macy if she'll come and lead us in prayer.
Will everyone please bow their heads to follow in prayer? Dear Lord, I want to thank everyone here for this evening. We offer this gathering to you and ask you to bless it with your wisdom and grace. We thank you for this opportunity to be together to grow in love and service of each other. We ask you to enlighten our minds to know what is true. May all our thoughts, words, and actions be directed towards making your name and love better known. For everyone, further sanctification and their happiness here and in eternity. I pray that everyone here will have safe travels home and a wonderful week. In the Lord's name I pray, amen.
Mr. Reynolds, will you lead us in the pledge?
Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. At this time, I'll need a motion to affirm our agenda, please.
I make a motion that we affirm our meeting.
I'll second that.
I have a first and I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All righty. Also look at your minutes that have been provided in your packet, and I'll need a motion and a second to approve those minutes from our February 14th meeting.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and that carries. At this time, do I have any board comments from our board? All right, seeing none, at this time, I know we have one person that has signed up for some public comments. So I'm going to invite Ms. Cheryl Smith up to address the board.
Okay. I just wanted to address the board about some new information that has been brought to my attention. We recently tried to register our kid for K4, and we were informed that we were not in district, that we were actually out of district. We have two older daughters who have attended 96 as in-district children since 2018. When we moved here, we were informed that we were in district, and we have been under the assumption that we were in district the whole entire time that they've been registered in school. And so now we are coming to you to ask you to help us out with this situation. We want to continue to have our children all registered in the same district, going to the same schools. So I don't know if you guys would like to see this, but I had printed out mapping of like where we're zoned and where we're scheduled to go. So according to the new information that we've been advised, that our children are zoned for Greenwood High, Brewer, and Westview, which 96 we would have to pass by 96 primary and the 96 high school to get to Brewer and Westview from our house and Greenwood High. It is actually 25 minutes to get to Greenwood High, and it's only 8 minutes to get to 96 from where we live. We're on McKenzie, if you are familiar with where McKenzie is. And so in our household, we sometimes operate as a one-parent household because my husband is often deployed for the military. So I depend on myself to get the kids to school and to get them home, and then I have to depend on, we recently have student drivers, so now I have to depend on them to help me to get the kids back and forth to school. And so I feel like it would be unfair to my children if we have to register my youngest child as an in-district in Greenwood and pull our oldest two out of Greenwood or out of 96 where they've attended since 2018. We have a sophomore and a junior, and I feel like it would be unfair to move them to the school that they would have to go to so that all of our children be in district together. They participate in track, and we have some that are in honors, and we have one that's going to be doing dual enrollment this year. So I would really like your help to make it so that my kids can attend the same school and the same district. So I'm just asking you to extend the same courtesy to the oldest two, or extend the same courtesy to the youngest one that you've extended to the oldest two by allowing him to be an in-district student as well, so that we can register him at 96 with his sisters.
Okay, well, we'll appreciate your comments, and we will take that in, and we will discuss it and get back with you.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, will you guys get back to me by email or phone call?
We will probably do email,
Okay.
if that's fine.
That is fine.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Yes,
Yes.
go ahead.
Was it redistricting? Is that the issue? Or did something change? Or-
I'm not, to be honest, I'm not sure what changed. So when we moved here in 2018, our kids attended Northside and Marywood. And when we came here, we went to the middle school at Edgewood and we registered them, and they told us that that's where they were zoned for, that's where we would register them for. So we registered them there, and they've attended ever since. And we did not know until this year when we tried to register him here for K4 that our kids weren't actually zoned and registered for the right school. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we're going to recognize our Heart of the Wildcats. Ms. Weeks, you want to go first?
Good evening. Our faculty and staff at 96 Primary School completed nominations for the month of February using our character word, which was kindness. We discussed with our students what kindness means and ways to show kindness at school and everywhere else. Our faculty and staff chose 2 staff members who they felt showed kindness in everything that they do at 96 Primary School. Our teacher of the month is Miss Andrea Thompson. If you'll come up, please, Miss Thompson. This is Miss Thompson's first year at 96 Primary School, and she has already made a lasting impression on so many of our students and teachers. Miss Thompson is such a hard worker, working before and after school to make sure her room is ready and her lessons are prepared for each and every one of her students. The work ethic that she has shown this year says so much about her character and the ability to love our students at 96 Primary School. She has formed relationships with her students that allows them to be comfortable in the classroom setting and ready to learn. Her kindness speaks volumes, and we are so thankful that she is a part of our 96 Primary School family. Our staff member of the month is Miss Alicia Pardue. Miss Alicia assists our students with special needs at 96 Primary School. Her interactions with these students shows her kindness, her patience, and positive attitude. Miss Alicia has helped tremendously with providing students time to be with their same age peers in different settings, such as the lunchroom, the PE, gym, music, art, library, computer lab, and stream lab. Friendships have been made and communication skills have heightened because of Miss Alicia. So thank you, Miss Alicia, for all that you have done for these students.
Good evening. At 96 Elementary, we have adopted life traits that coincide with the profile of a South Carolina graduate. Each month, we recognize students and staff members who exhibit life traits that set our school up for success. This month, our life trait was also kindness. Our teacher of the month was Miss Cindy Jenkins. Miss Jenkins, if you'll come forward. Miss Jenkins is part of our 3rd grade team at 96 Elementary School. Miss Jenkins comes to school every day wearing a smile. Ms. Jenkins shows kindness through her daily affirmations, positive attitude, and a listening ear. She develops relationships with her students that continue when they move to the next grade level. Recently, she had a student unexpectedly move, and she was truly sad. She asked if she could send a gift with her school records. She wrote a sweet note in a journal and encouraged the student to keep working hard. Ms. Jenkins goes above and beyond as an educator at 96 Elementary School. Thank you, Ms. Jenkins, for shining every day. Thank you. Our support staff member of the month was Miss Lori Ryans. Miss Lori, if you'll come forward. Miss Lori is part of our cafeteria staff. She shows kindness through her daily actions as she serves up delicious meals in our cafeteria. Students are always greeted with a smile and a positive attitude. She goes around daily, ensures that all of our faculty and staff and students are well fed. She builds relationships with all of our students, learning their dietary likes and dislikes. Her favorite line every day is, "I know what my students and my teachers like." She takes care of us all. Thank you, Miss Lori, for shining every day in our cafeteria and for supporting our school in many, many different ways. Thank you.
Good evening. I got a little catching up to do. I was not able to be at the meeting last month, so I'm going to start by recognizing last month's Teachers of the Month. So I would like to bring, even on crutches, Miss Patty Hester and Marilyn Hilly, if you two ladies would come forward, please. Miss Hester has been teaching for years, and this is Miss Hilly's second year, but they work so well together. Miss Hilly actually student taught for Miss Hester whenever she was here 3 years ago as a senior at Lander. They make up our 6th grade math team. One of the things that we've been focusing on this year is our math instruction, and these two women have done an incredible job. That on our second benchmark that we took in January, their students did so well, they were actually highlighted by the company that does the Mastery Connect tests, that they scored significantly above what was actually projected to do for their students. They did a phenomenal job. Both of their, last year we were hovering right around 40% for meets and exceeds in 6th grade, and based on their second benchmark, it was well over 60% that their students accomplished on the second benchmark. So we're looking forward to great things for them continued in the future, and now that we've set that standard, they're only allowed to go up from here. So they know that. So I'd like to congratulate first Miss Hester. And second for Miss Hilly. Only 3 more weeks. She has to be on crutches, and then maybe she could be in a walking boot after that. Okay. Next, for this month's Teacher of the Month, if I could have Mr. Bagwell, if he will come on up. Mr. Bagwell is our Renaissance man. He had nothing to do in the afternoons, so we've decided to fill his schedule. He helps with the marching band. He coaches our girls' basketball team. He coaches our girls' soccer team, and he helps out with the boys' soccer team as well. And at the end of January, the beginning of February, this year we had a girls basketball team that finished 14-0, had a perfect record. They actually won the conference tournament as well, so really 16-0. Girls sports at Edgewood has been really, really good. At the end of a 16-0 season, combined with the volleyball season, our girls had won 31 straight matches over 3 sports seasons. So they've done well. Now that's the athletic part of things. So if you go into his classroom, I hate to mention this last, but he is the band teacher and does an absolutely phenomenal job. Next Tuesday, he has taken 7th and 8th grade band to CPA, and I went with them last year. They are unbelievable to listen to. They had a superior rating with distinction last year, and we figure that they will probably end up doing the same thing. Now, with that, he is coaching the girls' soccer team now, so not only did he extend the winning streak, but he also broke the winning streak as well. No, I'm just kidding. Very inexperienced soccer team, and they are still with a winning record at this point. They are 3-2 at this point, and they are playing really well. So I want to congratulate Joey Bagwell for this month's Teacher of the Month.
Apologize, I've been on the road half the day coming back from a conference in Charleston. So,
I just want to, first of all, Mr. Bagwell, before he heads out, I want to make one comment. I did post something the other day about our indoor percussion band being ranked number 9 in the nation in the open division. I mean, that's the big time division. And our band program is outstanding, and it all starts in the middle school with Mr. Reiser and Mr. Bagwell. So they're outstanding. We love them. All right. We have 2. Our teacher of the month is Coach Adam Deal. He cannot be here because he's the hardest working man in the district. We have baseball and we have soccer going on, so he's back and forth between the old school and the new school all night tonight, so he was unavailable. But Coach Deal is our athletic trainer, does everything. Just an outstanding young man. I hate that he's not going to be with us next year, but hopefully he's looking for some help that he could help us with. So, but Coach Adam Deal is our teacher of the month, and then Mark Latham is our assistant of the month. Mr. Latham does an outstanding job in our flex program, working with our kids who are in an alternative setting. Does a great job with them, works with them, does tutoring, individual tutoring. Just does an outstanding job with our kids there. So Mark Latham is our support staff of the month for February or March. Excuse me, March. Excuse me. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. We'd like to thank our teachers and staff for the outstanding job that they do each and every day for our students in our district. At this time, Dr. Taylor, ready for your superintendent report.
Thank you, sir. All right, in your packet is a professional leave request, a group of those, fundraiser requests, a group of those, and some overnight field trips. So have y'all have any questions concerning those in your packet, or if you'd like to look at them? Yes, sir.
I have to get used to these mics, sorry. So we do have one overnight field trip request that we will need to approve. That's on page 25 of your packet. If you have any questions about that. I just need a motion and a second to approve that. There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There's a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, that carries.
All right, thank you. There's also a parenting report, and wondering if there was any questions or concerns about the report. Okay. Lieutenant Budrow has the monthly SRO report for us.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor, members of the board. In your packet, you'll have the month of February incident report. Primary school had 1, elementary 0, middle school 4, high school 3, alternative 0, transportation 2. The old high school and the stadium property was 0, district office was 0. There's a total of 10, which is down 3 from last month, which was 13, and that's down 2 from this time last year. On February 16th, 2023, the elementary school conducted an active intruder drill. During this drill, students were inside the cafeteria at their regularly scheduled lunchtime. When the drill started, the students were escorted out of the building by teachers and staff to a safe location away from the school, while the rest of the school followed their lockdown procedures. On February 23rd, 2023, the primary school conducted their active intruder drill. During this drill, the class of students were inside the cafeteria in their regularly scheduled lunchtime. When the drill started, the students were escorted out of the building by teachers and staff to a safe location away from the school, while the rest of the school followed the lockdown procedures. Both drills went very well, and teachers and staff did what they were trained to do. Any questions? All right, thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
I gotta get used to that mic.
All right, I wanted to provide an update with the Old 96 High School referendum. So when we left last month after the board meeting, We sent an email to Connie Moody, and it was written by Mr. DeBose, and it was the referendum. So we submitted it, and it is in process, and so it can be voted on May the 9th. From that point forward, we began working on how do we promote the referendum and how do we share this information out so that we can have people come out and vote. And so Jonathan Graves started with the webpage, an email address, contacting people to sign up for us to come and speak. And so myself, Jonathan, and Andrew, the main person, Andrew, to share really the presentation that y'all saw last month. And so we have talked to the schools, PTSO, School Improvement Council, not all of them, we've started. Booster clubs are on the schedule, churches, Jonathan's done some churches, community events, Lions Club, so we're open. Y'all are gonna speak with the Mill Village. And so we are open to whoever would like to share, to get the word out. We'll be glad to come. And so really I wanted to say, this is moving and we're doing this and we're scheduled, but we are here to help. So if we can say or do anything, we'd like to share information. Jonathan's going to work on a video, maybe before and what after should look like, and have some handouts available. So we're in the process of that, and also contacting Lindsay to maybe help us a little bit with that promotion. So, but actually on the day of voting on May the 9th, on the table, there will be a copy of the referendum there. Connie Moody will provide that. So if people haven't heard anything about it, they'll have a chance to look at it to say, I oppose this or I agree with it. So looking forward to the May 9th ballot. So I just wanted to give y'all an update on that. All right. We have had discussions and talked about visitors coming into the building since COVID. We've opened up our campuses. We've had a lot more activity. We continue to add to that. And so I was going to let our principals share a little bit about, whoever would like to share, about what that means at their school and how does that look. We shape it differently. It looks different at every school and how we do that. But we were going to share tonight a little bit about the things we are doing, welcoming our visitors in. All right, Ms. Weeks.
It's because you got the young kids.
All right, good evening again. At this time, I would like to share with you the opportunities that we have at 96 Primary School currently for our families to be a part of our students' education. 96 Primary School, as well as the other schools in Greenwood 52, have brought back most, if not all, of our parent nights, awards, ceremonies, performances that were a part of our school before COVID hit, and we've also added a few new opportunities as well. Opportunities for families to visit our school after school hours. Just a few highlights. We've had our back to school nights, our Grandparents' Day, parent conferences, our Winterfest night, which was a new thing for us and was a big hit. Our STEAM Festival night is coming up next week. Book Character Parade, PTO meetings, School Improvement Council, to name a few. Opportunities for families to visit the school during the school day. We've started back all of our programs. We have our Veterans Day program every year, our Christmas program. We have Field Day for all of our grades. And then all of our end of the year ceremonies, graduations, kindergarten graduation, first grade awards, second grade ceremony. K4 is going to do an end of year ceremony this year. Our terrific kid ceremonies each month, IEP meetings, 504 meetings, parent conferences. Those are a few highlights that we do during the school day. I know one opportunity that I'd like to start next year is birthday lunches. We do, that's a big thing for primary school kids. So we do a birthday lunch in the cafeteria. I would like to decorate a room up here in this building where we can have the parents come in and have just a really nice lunch for our birthday students each month. So that's one thing I would like to add to the list for next school year. So as you can see, our families have had many opportunities throughout the year to be a part of our programs, our family nights, ceremonies, etc. We have tried to make family nights a priority because we're a Title I school. So a part of being a Title I school is our family engagement piece that we have to make sure that we are doing to continue to be a Title I school. So that's been a priority for us, but of course safety is our #1 priority. All of these opportunities that I've shared with you tonight have either been after school hours where parents can choose to come if they would like to with their families, or during school hours in an isolated location like the gym or the boardroom, for example. The one exception that we do make each year is field day. That's outdoors, and we have a very specific protocol that we have worked with our SRO to make that happen each year for field day. So at 96 Primary School, I think everybody in this building knows how unique this campus is. We have 6 separate buildings on our campus. We have 352 students who are currently enrolled at 96 Primary School. Their ages range from 3 to 9. So, you know, of course, that shows you that our very unique campus with 6 separate buildings houses the youngest of our district. So as the leader of our school, I'm charged with the task of keeping all of our students and our staff safe. And the sad truth that I think nobody wants to talk about is that our world is not like the world that we grew up in. I think so many of us walked these hallways as elementary school kids. And it was nothing to have parents come out and watch us play on the playground or come in the classrooms or walk down the hallways without being monitored. And sadly, as much as I would love for my boys to be raised in the time of the world that we were raised, that's just not the truth anymore. So we've contacted principals from several of our neighboring districts. I think we've talked to Greenwood 50, Saluda, Newberry, Lancaster, McCormick, Saluda, Abbeville, and most, if not all of them, have said that they have not opened their doors to visitors. A few stated that they have held special events where they have specific days, specific times, for specific reasons that they have allowed visitors, parents to come in. I also had a few people, and I think some of the other principals had a few people say that they have done this on a situational basis, having parents come in. One example was behavior concerns. If they felt like a parent needed to come and observe anything that was happening in the classroom, and those were limited to, I think, around 15 minutes, and they were always monitored with, if they went into the classroom, the parents, then a school administrator went with them. So with that being said, I want to stop and put a little plug in to Andrew that I would love to have a full-time assistant principal. I do not right now. So playing tour guide for our parents, as much as I love our parents at 96 Primary School, that's a hard task being the only administrator in our building right now. I do want to say that when parents need access or want access to their children, obviously they're their children, so we're going to give that access. We've had a few situations this year where parents wanted to come and eat lunch. We've provided a location for them to do that with their personal children. We've had a few instances where parents wanted to come in. They felt like they needed to speak to their child or have a conversation during the school day with their child. We've given them opportunities and locations to do that as well. But as the administrator, as much as I give access to their personal children, I also have to monitor the access that we give to those parents to other children that are not their children. Because, like I said, sadly, these days we have to worry about confidentiality. We have to worry about the rights of students at all times. So we do have to make sure that we are limiting that access to students that, you know, they don't have rights to. My hope as the principal at 96 Primary School, I hope my parents at my school know me well enough to know that I'm not doing this to keep them out of their buildings. I would love to provide as many opportunities as possible for them to come in when it is safe and worthwhile. I do hope that my parents in my building actually look at it as we are trying to hold on to our promise that we are keeping their baby safe while they are in our care. I do know that I probably have more parents who are knocking down the doors to come hang out with us, probably than the middle school. So, not to call you out or anything, but you know, or the high school. So if y'all have any questions or anything that you'd like to talk to me further, you know, please don't hesitate to ask, or if we need to have any more discussion. If not, at this time, I will turn it over to Miss Loudon. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I pretty much echo everything that Ms. Weeks has already said. Of course, as she said, you know, in today's time, we have to look at what's going on around us. And safety, of course, is our number one priority. And the things that we used to do even 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, we cannot do now. But we have kind of put in some things in place, you know, easing back into COVID to allow our parents access to our schools. But we do not allow at this time parents going into classrooms, and we also do not do the birthday lunches at this time. Now, that is something that we're looking to probably do something similar to the primary school, because just like Ms. Weeks says, they're still young and they do want to come in. But we have brought back the back to school nights, grandparents nights, Veterans Day, National Junior Beta Club, Field Day, Color Run, Art Showcase, PTO, SIC meetings, PTO, various things that the parents can be involved. But again, we do have to look at safety. The world is different, and we have to put safety protocols in place to make sure that we are in a position where we protect our students as well as our staff. So we are doing things that we can, and as you've heard Mr. Boudreaux say, you know, we have to perform these drills and make sure that if something happens that we're prepared and people know what to do. And again, as Ms. Weeks said, we wish it could be kind of how we grew up, where you could come in and just have this open canvas, but we can't do that now because of the world that we live in. And our top priority is making sure that our students, our staff are safe at all times.
Let's just be honest, nobody wants to come to the middle school. While they're knocking down the doors of the primary school and the elementary school, most of the parents only slow down to about 15 miles an hour to push their kid out in the mornings at the middle school. So, look, my own child goes to middle school, and I don't want to see him during the day, okay? So I'm excited to see him go to the high school next year. But, you know, Mr. Rice and I are in a little bit different situation. While, again, you have a lot of them that want to come into the primary, that want to come into the elementary, and really even, you know, whenever they become seniors, and they do a lot of senior celebrations and stuff. There's not really a lot that are knocking down the doors to come into the middle school. We still have opened up a lot of things, but most of our stuff is kind of in the evenings. You know, we have athletics where they don't have it in the lower two schools. Of course, the high school does as well. We have parents in our building all the time, but most of the time it's after school lets out. Between athletics, you know, induction programs for Beta Club and spelling bees and geography bees and meet the parent. We have a 5th grade night where we invite the parents over, you know, transition night that we do. We have them in. All the 8th graders have to have the IGPs. You guys that have gone through IGPs for your high schoolers, we start those in 8th grade. So all of the 8th grade parents come in. At any point, we are not going to restrict access for a parent to their own child. I mean, we can't do that. You know, you want to come in and you want to see your daughter, we're not going to say, no, you can't see your daughter. I mean, that's not what we do. We bring them into the office. We gave a safe place for them to talk and see. I've had some that have come in and have wanted to eat lunch with their child as well. We've done that. We've provided a place for them to do. It is the access. We want to limit the distractions that come in the classroom, because middle schooler, the attention span of a flea. You know, anybody walks into a room and all of a sudden, what's going on? And then, you know, the lesson's toast for the next 25 minutes. And so we are in discussions, the 4 of us with Dr. Taylor and Mr. Spadero as well, about ways that we can try and encourage more, because the last thing we want is to shut the community out of our schools. I think as a district, we have opened up much quicker than other districts have done. And because we love the community and we want the community involved, our schools are true definitions of community schools. We want everybody to be involved. But like they've already said, we want to figure out ways to make it safe. We want to make it equitable for people, but to protect the rights of everybody else. Just like, you know, you don't want other people to have access to your children. We're the protector of all of them in the building. So we're doing that, and each year we have continued to open up more and more things as we have. We even have had some guest speakers come into some different classrooms. We make sure that they're vetted before they come in. They're always escorted down by myself or Mr. Leopard, the assistant principal, and they stay with them the whole time while they, you know, present or whatever. And then we escort them back out as well. So we just want to make sure that every one of our 1,600 kids or whatever we have in the district is safe at all times. Mr. Rice, I don't know if you have to add anything.
We're pretty much open as much as we were before COVID. You know, as far as athletics, everything like that, awards programs, we had the Beta Club and National Honor Society induction this last week, and had a ton of parents there. With the ring ceremony we had in February, a ton of parents came. You know, most everything's in the evening, though, because that's when parents can be there. Again, we do offer some things during the day. We have the plant sale coming up. Come support the ag program. That's coming up next Saturday, I believe, the 25th. So band concerts, marching band performances, indoor percussion performances. We have community youth wrestling that comes and uses our building. So, I mean, we're open all the time. The Miss 96 High pageant, registration. You know, we have all kind of activities. We've got some things coming up with school tours. I've given school tours to a family from Italy. I've given school tours to a family from England. So I'm hoping we're going to have a pretty good soccer team going forward. But, I mean, people coming from outside the district because they want to come here, and they want to live here, and they want to come to this school. We've got signings, athletic signings. Whenever one of our kids signs with an athletic program, we bring the family in, take pictures. We've got activities for the seniors coming up, the senior walk, senior breakfast. We have military recruiters in our buildings just about every week. I know the Army and the Marines are in there all the time. Hadn't seen the Navy and the Air Force yet, but they're coming. So vocational rehab works with our SPED students. Every week we've got 2 or 3 people from vocational rehab in there all the time. And then Fridays, and I know it's Fridays for middle school as well, FCA on Friday mornings. We have the community churches come in. They support our program. So we got a lot going on, but again, it goes back to safety, confidentiality, and disruption during the day. We try to limit disruptions. The one thing that we haven't brought back from before COVID was allowing lunches to be brought into students, because that becomes a big disruption more than anything. Having to call in and get your kid out of class to come get your Subway. Well, that, you know, we have lunch in the cafeteria. We have a lot of our kids leave and go to Piedmont Tech, Lander, the Career Center. They go get lunch anyway. So that's the one thing we haven't brought back. It's because that's more of a distraction than anything. So other than that, we're pretty much fully open to what we were before COVID was. So I think we're good to go there.
Thank you very much for sharing. Do you have any questions for the principals or for myself?
Actually, I do. Ms. Weeks, Ms. Loudon, you recall, well, Ms. Weeks, not you, but Ms. Loudon, you recall, Ms. Anderson, you recall, a lot of days I would go have lunch with my kids, okay? So I'm 6'6", I'm 340 pounds. If anybody is gonna mess with a child while I'm in the school, I don't care whose kid it is. There's 2 daddies back here. One of them is identified as military, the other's former law enforcement. I would like to know that they were in the school. I would like to know that those daddies, those mamas, the only person I'm afraid of right now is my wife if somebody were to mess with my kids. Unfortunately, she doesn't identify her 2 kids as her kids. She identifies every child as her kid. It's a maternal thing, apparently. So I think that where you all are saying it's about safety, you doggone right it is. Get those parents in the school system. Get those parents in having lunch with the kids. Because you know who knows what's going on? Those parents. Those parents can tell you what's happening. Those parents can tell you things that we don't hear about. But their kids will tell you. And if they want to have lunch with their kid, I don't think that's a disruption. I think that's an asset. And I think one of the things that made me so impressed with 96 when we moved here was the fact that Miss Anderson knew my children's names the second day of school, and I could go have lunch with my kids. So I understand it's not the world we had 3 days ago. It's not the world we had last year, 5 years ago. But if we're going to keep folding to the environment's going to keep kicking our tail. We need to say, no, this is how we're going to handle it. We're going to let people come in. We're going to let parents come in. Because if they're interested enough in their kids to come have lunch with them, they're not bad people. They're not bad people. And the bad ones who have bad intentions, I want to be there. I want Lieutenant Boudreaux to be there. I want Lieutenant Boudreaux's people to be there. But if it's comes down to whether a parent will stop a bad guy, they will every time. And some of us maybe have been in a scrap or two that a teacher hasn't. So I would say, I understand, Mr. Schoolfield. My kids got to 6th grade, they didn't like me. They didn't want to see me, and they sure didn't want me coming to pick them up. I got that. High school, they wanted to be adults as long as I paid the bills. I got that. But when they're in primary and elementary, I think we ought to open it up so that the parents can have lunch with their kids. I understand going in the classroom's a disruption. I don't have a problem with that. Going to have lunch with their kids, I think that's an asset.
All right. Anyone else with questions or concerns?
Yeah, I'll speak on that too, because we were contacted by a parent, of course, and I understand the security thing is just like Mr. Campbell does, no doubt, and I appreciate the concern for the security for the children because that's what it's about. And I also understand the concern about the parents wanting to come eat with their children, and I did the same thing when my kids were here. Not a problem. Of course, it's not like it was. And I think, going into next year, as Ms. Weeks talked about, I think that's great that we could do that and hopefully have those back in here. But if there was something that we could do for this year, just to try to get something started and just inform the parents, just let the parents know, because I think the biggest thing that we had or that was communicated to us was no, they're really, from what we got was there's no communication. Of course, we know there's communication with parents. We understand that, and it was brought to 3 of us, I know. But if there was something that we could do maybe this year to look into it, whatever. Not saying you don't make an effort, because I know you all do, and we appreciate what you do. So that's just what I got to say. So, and middle school and high school, yeah, they don't want us to come sit down and eat. They're embarrassed by us then. So, yeah. Thank y'all.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Thank you. We appreciate your comments. All right, Mr. Jackson.
All right, Ms. Anderson, you're up for policies.
Okay, if you'll turn in your board packet to page 33, you have policy JJI, interscholastic athletics. That is a second reading policy. We got some feedback from the first reading, and so the information that we have added based on the feedback that we received is in yellow, highlighted to clarify the feedback. And so I bring the second reading to you tonight for, I seek a motion to adopt the second reading as policy.
Okay, we've got that in front of us, policy JJI. Do I have a motion and a second to approve this policy?
I make a motion that we approve this policy.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I think we have to have discussion first.
Okay, we can.
Okay, so one of the issues that I have with this is if the coaches establish when practice is and keep it that way. But if practice is going to be held on the weekends when the travel ball sports are primarily being conducted, we're jamming them up. And that gives the coaches, school coaches, control over a lot of families on the weekends. So if we say, okay, practices will be held Monday through Friday or, whatever. But if we are going to give the coaches the latitude to change and have weekend practices, like when they're going into championships and things like that, that's going to mess up folks who are participating in travel ball or other athletic programs. So I think there needs to be something in there that stipulates when scholastic, when the school sports practices can be held, so that it does not interfere with those other practices.
What if we put in there if it was optional? If they did have a weekend practice, could they make it optional?
I think that would be perfectly acceptable.
Because I mean, I'm just going to use wrestling as an example. I know, Coach Lemons during holidays, he actually makes it a little bit of a fun game, Thanksgiving throwdown or whatever, however you want to say it. But I know, like, during the weekends and stuff, he'll have an open mat from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Come if you can. So if we put the verbiage in there about the scholastic sports were optional on a weekend, mandatory during the week, and as you said, with the optional on the weekends. And I think for the most part, I think most of our coaches are pretty good with the weekend practices. I know with baseball, Coach Ellis will, we're going to be at the field. If anybody wants to come hit, please come, that kind of thing. So,
yeah, I would make it optional. I think that's great.
Yeah.
But don't penalize the families that are doing other things on the weekend that,
correct.
They're trying to better themselves other ways. So
Alright.
optional would be fine.
So what about after sport, the period there, insert practice is mandatory during the week and optional on the weekend?
I think that would be,
satisfy it?
yes, ma'am. I think that'd be
And then pick
acceptable.
back up with the next sentence, each coach.
Yep.
Okay?
So do we need to?
We need to amend that policy to state what you just said.
I will. Do you
Okay.
want me to amend it, bring it back to you for second read next time? Or do you want to go ahead and vote on it and let me send it to you in the morning amended?
Just amend it and bring it back next month,
Yeah, I
please.
think that'd be probably the best thing.
So we'll table that.
All right. Okay, I bring before you tonight policy GCLE, which is unencumbered time. This is a model policy, and we don't have a whole lot of leeway with this policy, unfortunately, because the state board has made this a ruling that we're going to follow these things because of the change in legislation that they've had. So this is a first reading on that policy, and it's directly from the state board to the South Carolina Department of Ed to the South Carolina School Boards Association to us. So I'll leave that for you to read. And then we'll come back to that next meeting for if you have input that you'd like, as we did last time, you can let me know. GCLE-R, that's the nuts and bolts of the unencumbered time. That is an administrative rule. And administrative rules do not require board approval. So I just wanted to bring to your attention that we are going to move ahead with the administrative rule. And once the policy is adopted, we have to send all this back to the state board to prove that we've done this in the 90-day period that they've had us do it in. And so we're approaching the 40th day of that because of the way our board meetings are running. Okay. The last item I bring before you is JICDA-R, Code of Conduct. It is an administrative rule. Each year we revise our Code of Conduct. We get together as administrators and district folks and we discuss our Code of Conduct. So we had a big meeting on this back, I think it was January when we all gathered. It seems like forever ago now. And we spent an entire day with this process. And we came to some agreement about what we would like to see. And then we passed it through our legal counsel. And he has okayed this legally. And so tonight I bring this before you to let you know that we will adopt our new Code of Conduct effective July 1 as an administrative rule. Any questions?
Yes, ma'am. I've got a couple on that one.
Okay.
On the first, on page 1, in the bullet points, at any time or any place, including off school grounds and during non-school hours. Could you give me an example of that?
On school grounds before and after hours, which one are you talking about?
Ma'am, the last bullet point.
at any time or place, including all school grounds and during non-school hours, would be like the prom. If you hold the prom at the National Guard Armory, it's off school grounds and it's after hours. Yes, sir. Anything else? And just as an update before we sit down, or I sit down, the unencumbered policy, when I bring it back, the unencumbered time, that marks the last of our policies after you adopt the second reading of JJI. So there'll be no more new policies that will be brought before you unless you have the intent to review other policies. And if you feel that we need to do that, please communicate with me. I'm open to helping you with that process. And the same way from the administration, if there are policies that they would like to be reviewed, then we will entertain those at that time. But that marks the end of our requirements from the South Carolina Legislative Assembly. Questions? Thank you.
Mr. Mackey, you up?
All right, good evening, everyone. So through February, it's been smooth sailing as it has been every month. Nothing really unexpected or unusual. Through February, we have brought in about $9.1 million. I would like to point out that those do not include the tax revenue we get from the county. We don't get, they're a month behind, so we don't get the county records of what the tax revenue we've got until the 15th of the following month. So I'll get those reports tomorrow. So that 9.1 number is really probably about 9.4, 9.5 million through February. Our expenditures are about 8.3 million to this point. You can look at the list of expenditures I've provided. Nothing really jumps out as an issue, especially in total. You know, we're trending right along the path as we should be through February. And if you look at the 5-year comparison, we're pretty much on par there as well. Is there any questions about the monthly financials? All right, I'll move on. The next 2 points on the agenda are both procurement items. So I just have an overall procurement update on that. Our solicitation number 23.002, the fence and access controls at the elementary school. That contract has been, job has been awarded to West Electrical Contractors of Newberry. They are unlimited general contractors and unlimited mechanical contractors. So that means they can do jobs of any dollar amount. They've got a subcontractor that's a burglar alarm company to handle the access control, so we feel really good about that. They had great references from Edgefield, Lawrence, Clinton, a bunch of other school districts in the area. The security cameras at the elementary school, we did that through a state contract. Johnson Controls is going to be the company putting in the security cameras, and we're just working on scheduling at this point now. Our construction manager at risk, 23.003 is the number there. I was hoping to have that finalized and to you guys tonight, but trying to get everything scheduled around, you know, our district employee schedules, the contractor company schedules. Wasn't quite able to get it, but we are down to the top 3, and we'll have interviews with those top 3. We have 2 Thursday and 1 Friday. So by Friday afternoon, we should hopefully know who we want to pick for to handle the old high school project. So we had 8 bids there. They were all very impressive. Had our evaluation team go through them. That took a little bit longer than we anticipated as well, just because we had so many good options. So I mean, it was hard to sort of parse through some of those details. So we took a little bit extra time there as well. So we feel really good about the 3 we have, and hopefully that'll be done by this week. We also have 23.004, that's our grounds maintenance. So our contract with McAllister's is up. It's the 5th year this year, so we're currently in the bid process for a new grounds maintenance company. We had walkthroughs last week there. We had 8 companies show up, so we have a lot of interest there. Those bids will be due March 23rd. And then the last one is 23.005, which is the abatement at the old high school. In talking with some of those construction companies, they have said that it's better for their liability if we contract with the abatement contractors ourselves to get rid of the hazardous materials. So we're in the process of, we've started that process, walkthroughs tomorrow. So we'll hopefully get that on board. And the plan is to have all the hazardous materials out of the building before the contractors even start. So that just gets that liability doesn't fall on the general contractor, and it gets done ahead of time, so there's no further delays there. And I think that's it for the procurement. So I'll move on if there's any questions there. Sorry. Okay. The next thing is the budget. Board policy says we have to have a budget for you guys for March, but this is like an extremely rough draft. I've updated some of the revenue numbers with just some trend analysis and some projections of some of our tax revenue. But we've got no projections from the state yet. They say we're going to have them this week, but I won't hold my breath. With the new, with the old funding model that got replaced last year, you could do your own projections based on your enrollment and the base student cost and all that. So you could come up with your own numbers and then reconcile with the state. But the new funding model is allocated based on your ratio of weighted pupil units compared to the entire state. So I don't have the state's weighted pupil units numbers. That's not something I have access to. So I can't forecast what I'm going to get without knowing what's going on at the whole state. So we have to wait there. So like I said, I updated some of the revenue. I updated some of the expenditures to account for just percentage increases. I bumped up salaries, the total salary number by 3%, increase insurance. A 3% salary increase is about the average. It's a little bit more than the average step increase, so I bumped it up a little bit. But again, this is all very preliminary. The state says that we're going to get more money than we've ever got before, which is, they said that last year also. So, which the Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office with the state has been budgeting on the assumption that we will have a recession in the economy for the last couple years, which has not happened yet. So the state has a bunch of additional money that they haven't budgeted for, non-recurring money. So that's why school districts are getting more than they've ever gotten before. So once we get those projections and the budgets finalized at the state, we'll be able to really dig in and figure out what we're going to do with ours. So the total revenue for this budget is $15.5 million. Total expenses is $15.65 million. So it's currently showing a deficit of $95,000. I do not anticipate that being the case once we get final revenue numbers. But we'll see what happens, and we'll tackle this beast at a later date. Okay.
Thanks, sir.
And then I think I have one more item, discussion of retention bonuses. I know last month we had talked about potentially doing that. It was something we seemed to be in favor of, I'll say. No, I don't want to speak for you guys, but we didn't have a number yet. In talking with Dr. Taylor and looking at some of the projections of where we're going to end up, we're looking like we're going to have some excess budget at the end of the year. So we can, these are something we won't pay out until the start of next year, August or September, so we can utilize some of the excess in our budget at the end of this year. We can earmark some of that stuff. It's called assigning it towards paying a retention bonus if we wanted to next year. And I think, looking at where I think we're going to end up projecting it wise, I think that we could do $1,000 as a retention bonus to all employees. It's not quite what Greenwood District 50 is doing. I talked to some other districts. They're throwing around $500, so it is more than others. So I think it's a competitive number, and it's one that I believe that we'll be able to afford. So is that? you guys have any thoughts or opinions on that?
All right, there's a recommendation from our finance director to pay out $1,000 bonus to all employees. Do I have a motion and a second?
I make a motion that we do that.
Okay.
I'll second.
We got lots of, all in favor?
Aye.
So that passes.
And now I am.
You are done.
Thanks,
Thank
Russ.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Miss Anderson, one more time for personnel.
If you turn in your board packets to page 77, we have a motion to hire candidate A. And I want to place that, that recommendation out here for you and get a motion from you to do that. I'm a little tongue-tied tonight. Forgive me.
Okay, y'all have that in your board packet. Do I have a motion and a second to recommend candidate A for employment?
I'll make the motion to hire candidate A.
There's a second?
I'll second it.
There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that passes.
The board has agreed to hire Laura Owens as the guidance counselor for 96 Primary School. Ms. Weeks, if you go ahead and call her tonight and let her know. Okay. All right, I want to give you an update on where we are with positions before I get into the teacher contracts. Right now, we still have a coach position that we've not finalized yet, that they needed a little more time, the committee. And so I'm hoping that we will get a recommendation soon on that. We have a physical education teacher that is open. We still have a special education teacher and a speech pathologist position that is open. Tomorrow, I plan to post the success coach, which is the position that Laura Owens is moving away from, to see what we can get done with that. And then I had a resignation, I think Darren Rice has already alluded to that, from Adam Deal. And so we're going to be posting up something soon for Adam as well, and his position. In addition to that, we've hired Nicole Oots as food service in the cafeteria. And this afternoon, Dr. Taylor signed off on Madison Vaughn, who is a teaching assistant, who will now be the new guidance secretary to replace Ms. Sharon Brown. So we are moving through the process of getting these jobs filled and getting folks where we need them to be. So now we're going to move on to page 79 in your board packet. And I decided tonight to do this school by school because we do have some kinship on some of these and there'll be some recusal that has to happen. So on page 79, you have the 96 primary school teaching staff and support staff. And so I'm asking for a motion to approve so we can issue contracts for the 23-24 year to 96 primary school employees that are listed there. Employees A through NN.
Okay, you have those in your packet. We do need a motion and a second to approve these contracts to be sent out. There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it since I can't do the next one.
That's right.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
All right, now we're on page 80, and Mr. Reynolds has already kind of alluded to
Yep.
something there, so I'll let him speak to that.
All right, Mr. Chairman, so I got a issue here. So I, Jay Reynolds, hereby recuse myself from the renewal of my wife and daughter's employment contract due to a conflict of interest. I ask that a copy of this written document be attached to the minutes for the board meeting indicated herein as public notice of my recusal and my reasons for doing so.
So moved.
Okay. All right, so now we're with the elementary staff, and we start with OO, and we go to Y. Okay? I know it. I feel like one tonight.
All right.
I'd like a motion to approve these contracts.
Okay. So guys, you got those as well. I need a motion and a second to approve the 96 elementary school contracts.
I make a motion that we accept the 96 elementary school contracts, O through Y.
All right, we got a motion. Is there a second? All right, there's a motion, second. All in favor? Aye.
Okay,
Okay, that motion carries.
thank you. Then we move on to the middle school. They start with ZZZ and they end with, oh, G. 5 Gs.
Again, we have those contracts in front of us as well for the for the Edgewood Middle School contracts. Do we have a motion and a second? There's a motion. Is there a second? There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that
Alright.
carries.
And 96 High School, they're actually on page 82 and the top of 83. So they start with the acronym H, and there are 5 H's there, and they go to the Q acronym times 6.
Okay. Again, we have the 96 high school contracts. I need a motion and a second, please.
I make a motion for we accept or we offer the contracts.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And there's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those contracts can be issued.
Okay, now we're on the last page. Okay, so the ones in blue at the bottom of the support staff, you guys have already approved. So the motion is for R, all the way down to the S's. Okay? And that's support staff contracts. That's the bus driving staff and the food service staff for the whole district.
Okay. All right, we've got those in front of us as well, for our bus drivers and our food service. We have a motion and a second to approve to issue those contracts.
I make a motion that we approve it.
Okay, there's a motion, second. There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those are good to issue as well.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Reynolds, for your professionalism.
All right, thank you. That concludes our regular scheduled meeting for tonight. We do have to go into executive session for the purpose of contractual negotiation for IT professional services, discussion of employment matters, superintendent's informal evaluation, receipt of legal advice regarding a potential legal claim, and expulsion appeal hearing of student A. I need a motion to go into executive session in a second. There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you guys for coming.